Minamata Online 2025. This Minamata Online is a series of webinars on the various aspects of the Minamata Convention on Mercury. And this is the start of the 2025 chapter. The first one of this year is about the upcoming deadlines and events in preparation for the 6th meeting of the Conference of the Parties. My name is Eisak Toda of the Minamata Convention Secretariat, and I'm happy to moderate this session. Before starting, I'd like to let you know that as usual, we are going to record this and also web stream this session, and also the recording and presentations will be available on the Minamata Convention's website. Also, there will be a question and answer session at the end of this webinar, and we will respond to questions that are put in the chat. So if you have questions, please put your questions in the chat box and send it to everyone. So I think without further ado, if you can go to the next slide. This is today's program. My colleague, Lara Ogunbene, Legal and Program Management Officer, is going to present the first two sections, COP2 practical preparation and the amendments to the convention and its annexes. And then I will move on to present the intersessional work in preparation for COP-6 and summary, and we will open up for questions. And as I said, if you have any questions, please put that in the chat box. So with this, I'd like to hand over to Lara.
Thank you, Isako, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Lara Ognibene, and as mentioned, I'm a legal officer with the Secretariat of the Minamata Convention. Now, I will take you through the first part of this presentation. Next slide, please. So this is an overview of some practical information related to preparation for COP-6, and in particular on important deadlines that are coming up between now and COP-6, which will be held in November this year from 3rd to 7th in Geneva. So the first deadline is the 28th of February this year. By that date, parties are to notify the Secretariat of offers to host regional preparatory meeting, which will be held in September and October this year in preparation for COP-6. By 3rd of May this year, also the text of any proposed amendment to the convention, including its annexes, shall be communicated to all parties. And this is in line with the convention's deadline of circulating proposals for amendments at least 6 months before the COP. Keeping that in mind, the parties are invited to submit text of proposals in advance of this convention's deadline to allow the Secretariat to prepare the communication. And therefore, we would invite parties to submit their proposals to the Secretariat at least 8 months in advance of the COP. Then on the same day, 3rd of May, this is when COP-6 invitations will be sent out. In July, the Secretariat will open registration of delegates. On the 5th of August, budget-related documents will be made available. This is 90 days before the COP. And on the same day, which is 90 days before the COP, there's a deadline for ratification of the convention in order to be a party at the beginning of COP-6. Since ratification, entry into force of the convention takes place 90 days after ratification. The 8th of September is the deadline for registration of parties' nominations of sponsored participants. This is 8 weeks before the COP. This is a Secretariat deadline to allow us to process travel and other logistical arrangements in time for the COP. And then on 22nd September is the deadline for distributing COP-6 documents in all UN languages. This is 6 weeks before the COP, as provided by the rules of procedure. And then the 6th of October is the Secretariat's deadline for registration of observers. I will come then to specific dates for regional meetings that I've mentioned in this slide later on. Next slide, please. Now, regarding the issue of hosting COP7, which is a matter on the agenda for COP6, since COP6 will have to decide on the time and venue for the following meeting of the COP. I would like to give you a quick overview. According to Rule 3 of our rules of procedure of the COP, the meeting of the COP shall take place at the seat of the Secretariat unless the COP decides otherwise. Governments hosting a meeting of the COP outside the seat of the Secretariat, in accordance with General Assembly Resolution 40/243, would bear the actual additional direct and indirect costs of holding the meeting outside the seat of the Secretariat. So should a party be interested in offering to host COP7, this can be arranged. However, it has some financial implication, and the Secretariat is ready to provide any further indication on this. And therefore, we would like to invite parties interested in hosting future meetings to consult with the Secretariat. And we will also be able to provide initial estimates of these costs. I would like to remind parties that there is a principle of normal rotation of the presidency of the COP, which is now held by the GRULAC region. And the expected presidency for COP7 is expected to go to the WIOG region. So expression of interest to host COP7 shall be submitted to the Secretariat preferably 6 months before COP6, and this is the 2nd of May 2025. Here I would like to make a quick note that the Secretariat has made a tentative booking of the conference facilities in Geneva for COP7 from the 14th to the 18th of June 2027. This was the only available time slot. But if the Secretariat receives an offer to host COP7 from a party, arrangements can be made to move the dates to the normal time when COPs are held, so in the fall of 2027 in this case, and that would allow keeping the intersessional period of 2 years as usual, and not shortening this period between COP6 and COP7. Now, moving on to the next slide. Here, I will give you an overview of important deadlines related to amendments to the Convention and its annexes. Next slide, please. So the relevant article of the Convention is Article 26, which provides the procedure for the proposal of amendment, adoption of amendments, and also entry into force of amendments to the Convention. So amendments to the Convention may be proposed by any party. So it is a process that it is initiated by a party. and amendments shall be adopted at the meeting of the COP. In order to allow for this adoption, the text of any proposed amendment shall be communicated to all parties by the Secretariat at least 6 months before the meeting at which the amendment is proposed for adoption. So when it comes to COP-6, we need to calculate 6 months before the first day of the COP-6 to establish this deadline. Moving on to the next slide, I want to show you that the same procedure for proposal of amendments apply also to the adoption of amendments to annexes to the convention. It's the same procedure as the one I just described for amendments to the convention. Here you can see a list of existing annexes to the convention. We have Annex A on mercury added products, Annex B on manufacturing processes, Annex C on SGM national action plans, Annex D on emission sources, and Annex E on arbitration and conciliation. Possible additional annexes which are based on the convention text, so there are some provisions in the convention that explicitly refer to the possibility of adding an additional amendment, an additional annex, sorry. And these are an annex on trade in mercury compounds. This is provided for in Article 13, Article 3 of paragraph 13. An annex on requirements for interim storage, and this is provided for in Article 10, paragraph 3, and an annex on requirements for mercury waste, which is provided for in Article 11, paragraph 3A. Now, moving on to the next slide, please. I'll take you through the procedure as it relates to our COP-6. So, any party may submit a proposal for listing a mercury added product in Annex A or manufacturing processes using mercury or mercury compounds in Annex B, following the procedure as described in Articles 26 and 27. Such proposals shall include information related to the availability, technical and economic feasibility, and environmental and health risks and benefits of the non-mercury alternatives. This is an additional requirement provided in Article 4.7 and 5.9 that applies to amendments to existing annexes A and B. Then, as I mentioned earlier, pursuant to Articles 26.2, amendments proposals are to be communicated to all parties at least 6 months before the COP, and this will be the 3rd of May 2025 for being considered a COP-6. For the Secretariat to process the proposals for communication to all parties and to allow time for any kind of clarification, amendment proposals need to reach the Secretariat in advance of this 6-month deadline, and preferably at least 2 months before to allow for this preparation. This will be the 3rd of March, 2025. Next slide, please. Now I would like to highlight some amendments proposals that were already considered by COP-5 and where COP-5 did not conclude. This is an amendment on dental amalgam. So COP-5 decided to consider amendment proposals to Annex A at COP-6. So we already know there's already a COP-5 decision that COP-6 will consider a possible amendment to Annex A with relation to dental amalgam. You see here the bracketed text from the decision MC5/4, where we have bracketed dental amalgam with a phase-out date of 2030. Similar for Annex A Part 2, we have bracket text, which COP-6 will be invited to consider on dental amalgam when it comes to additional provisions on dental amalgam. And you see the text here in the screen. Moving on. Yes. So for amendments on dental amalgam that have not been concluded on COP5, there are no specific deadline, as the COP6 is already going to consider those based on the COP5 decision. Now, for amendments to Annex A and B that were adopted at COP5, here is a list. COP5 decided to amend COP1. The COP5 decided to amend Part 1 of Annex A to the convention by adding this list of products. You see them listed below with their related phase-out date. And we already have incorporated these amendments in the booklet of the convention in English, French, and Spanish. And other language versions will be available soon. So you see a list of new products with phase-out dates starting from this year, next year, and 2027. And then there are additional provisions adopted on dental amalgam in Part 2 of Annex A, and also in Annex B, Part 2, manufacturing process on the production of polyurethane has been added with a phase-out date of 2025 this year. So with respect to these amendments, I would like to move to the next slide to point out when is the entry into force date for these amendments that were adopted at COP5. Here, pursuant to paragraph 4 of Article 26, the Secretary General of the UN, who is the depository of our convention, has issued a communication following the adoption of decision MC5/4 on the amendments that I just listed in the previous slide. And this communication was issued and posted on the treaty section website on 25th of April last year. You see a link here to the communication that was sent out to all parties and signatories by the depository. So this is when we start calculating our now deadline for entry into force. So there are three kinds of possible entry into force periods depending on the party. So for a party, for all parties, the entry into force date is 1 year after the communication by the depository, and this is the 25th of April this year. This is pursuant to paragraph 3C of Article 27. However, there are two exceptions, except for any party that, pursuant to paragraph 3B of Article 27, has notified the depository in writing that it is unable to accept the amended text. We haven't seen any such notification so far. And the second exception is for any party that has made a declaration under paragraph 5 of Article 30. And in this case, party needs to ratify the amendment for the amendment to enter into force for it. And this will be within 90 days after ratification. Moving on to the next slide, please. Now, when amendments to annexes enter into force, this is a time where exemptions can be raised within these limits. So pursuant to Article 6.1, any party may register for one or more exemptions from the phase-out dates listed in Annex A and Annex B by notifying the Secretariat in writing. So exemptions go directly to the Secretariat. So there are two moments where this can happen: on becoming a party to this convention, or, and this is the second case is more relevant here, in the case of a product or a process added by an amendment Annex A and B, and this will be no later than the date upon which the applicable amendment enters into force for the party. So we have already, as mentioned in the previous slide, for any amendment adopted at COP5, entry into force for all parties is to be the 25th of April of this year. Any such registrations shall be accompanied by a statement explaining the party's need for the exemption. And then unless a shorter period is indicated in the register by a party, all exemptions pursuant to paragraph 1 shall expire 5 years after the relevant phase-out date listed in Annex A or B. And COP may decide at the request of a party to extend the exemption for up to 5 years. And in making its decision, COP shall take into account of a report from the party justifying the need to extend the exemption and outlining activities undertaken and planned to eliminate the need for the exemption, as well as other information referred to in paragraph 6.6. So if a party requests an exemption, if a party requests an extension of an exemption that it already has, a report needs to be submitted by late July to be included in a COP-6 document. So this relates to parties who already have exemptions and would like to extend them. So there is a deadline for such requests for it to be considered by COP-6. Okay, moving on to the next slide, please. This is where I hand over to Eisaku, and he will take you through the intersessional work. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara. And before presenting on this section 3, I see a question in the chat. Does gold plating using mercury have been added to the convention or not? And I'll respond to this question very quickly because it is a quick question. So no, it has not been added, and this has never been formally proposed to COP. And also, I see a hand raised by the participants, but we have a question and answer session, and if we have time, we may be able to take up oral questions, but we will prioritize the questions in the chat box. So if you have any question, I would recommend that you put that in the chat box so that you don't lose this opportunity. Having said this, I'd like to explain the progress of the intersessional work, and noting that this webinar is mainly on the COP6 related deadlines, and there are some submission deadlines, input deadlines for individual intersessional work, but there are many elements of the intersessional work. So I'm not going to cover all the intersectional work arising from the 20+ COP5 decision, but I am concentrating on the intersectional work that have some input deadlines very soon, meaning February or March. So the full information on the intersectional work is available on the website. And also, the Secretariat has circulated letters on the intersectional work. There are 4 letters, and the most recent one was yesterday about the mercury compound studies, dated 12th of February, as I will explain later. So the following slides explain intersessional work for which party input are expected by March or were expected by last year. So moving on to the next slide. So the first one is about the Article 3, which is mercury trade and supply sources and trade. In response to COP Decision 5/2, the Secretariat is compiling information on the experiences and challenges faced in the implementation of Article 3, as well as information on activities undertaken in relation to Bali Declaration on combating illegal trade in mercury, to be submitted by parties by the end of March this year. So far, Secretariat received information from 4 parties, and Secretariat will prepare a compilation for consideration by COP-6. The next slide, please. So the next one is about mercury compounds. The COP Decision MC 5/3, the recording paragraph 13 of Article 3, which is reproduced in the box on the bottom right, requesting the Secretariat to initiate a study of the global supply, production, trade, and use of mercury compounds, and to present a report to the Conference of Parties at the 6th meeting. In response to this request, the Secretariat has developed a study on the global supply, production, trade, and use of mercury compounds, funded by Canada and Spain, and with the cooperation of expert Mr. Peter Maxson. The draft study is available on the convention's website, and parties and stakeholders are invited to submit comments by the 5th of March. This letter was sent out yesterday. In addition, on the 11th of March, Secretariat will organize the Minamata Online session to present the status of implementation of the following COP decisions: MC 5/2 on mercury supply sources and trade, and 5/3 on mercury compound study. During this session, the Secretariat will present the content of the study, and we welcome comments by parties and other stakeholders. The next slide, please. So, about mercury-added cosmetics, COP took decision 5/5, preparation of a report on mercury-added cosmetics, and COP invited parties to submit information by the 30th of June on the challenges in preventing the manufacture, import, and export of mercury-added cosmetics. Submissions from 23 parties and 8 organizations were posted on the convention website. The draft report is being funded by the European Union, and in cooperation with WHO and Global Mercury Partnership, and we hope to be able to post it soon, and for comments by early April. An outline of the draft report was presented at the JEF project stakeholders meeting last month. Next slide, please. So, other control measures. There are a number of deadlines for input. The first one I'd like to mention is the vinyl chloromonomer production and information on economic and technical feasibility of mercury-free catalyst to be submitted by the end of March this year. With regard to emissions, pursuant to decision 5/8, the information on the experience in using guidance for BAT-BEP and inventories to be submitted by the end of March as well. With regard to ASGM, decision 5/7, the Secretariat is working on the drafts supplementary guidance on the review of the implementation of Article 7. We abbreviate it as RIA, and we are contacting we have invited comments from the parties who have submitted the NAP with a deadline of the 12th of March this year. Lastly, on the mercury waste threshold, and this is an MC 5/10. This work is not exactly about the mercury waste thresholds, but this is about mercury waste. The information on the management and regulations, waste management regulations and programs to be submitted by the 31st of October this year, and submissions from 8 parties are available on the convention website. The next slide, please. This is about Mercury and biodiversity, decision 5/17. And under this pursuant this decision, the draft technical guidance on integration action to reduce mercury pollution from gold mining into national biodiversity strategies and action plans is being developed, funded by the Netherlands, and it will be available for review in March next month. The technical guidance will be part of a draft roadmap requested in this decision to be prepared for COP-6 to support parties in demonstrating and maximizing co-benefits arising from implementation of the Minamata Convention and the Global Biodiversity Framework. So the next slide is the summary slide. So next one. So this is a recap of what we have explained. And please note that this doesn't include the various intersectional work deadlines. This is only about the general deadlines or schedule for the preparation on the preparation for COP. So as Lara said, the 28th of February is the deadline for proposals to host regional preparatory meetings, and the 3rd of March text to be proposed, amendment proposal text to be sent to the Secretariat. And I would like to touch upon the color scheme. These blue are what Lara explained as a Secretariat deadline. And what you see in gold or yellow is a mandatory deadline written in the convention text, rules, procedure, or financial rules, about saying that it's 6 months in advance and so on. But blue ones are set by the Secretariat to prepare for the COP discussion. And the gray one, the 4th March, online COP-6 bureau meeting, online bureau meeting. This is not a deadline, but other elements of the schedule. And for your information, the bureau met had its first meeting on the 28th of January, and this will be the second online meeting. 5th of March deadline for comments on the draft study on mercury compounds. So this is about the intersectional work, but this is kind of exceptionally here. And the Minamata Online on mercury supply source and trade on 11th March. And then the hard deadline of 21st of April is the entry into force of the COP5 amendments. 26th of April, in-person COP-6 bureau meeting. 2nd of May, he offers to host COP-7 to reach the Secretariat. 3rd of May, text to be proposed, proposed amendment to be sent to parties. Also 3rd of May, COP-6 invitation will be sent. In July, registration for delegates will be open. To the registration to COP-6 for delegates will open. Next slide. See, in 5th of August, COP-6 budget document on the website. It is 90 days in advance pursuant to the financial rules. And the 5th of August, deadline for ratification to be a party at COP-6. Because it takes 90 days to become a party after the ratification, acceptance, and so on. And if we receive if the depository receives the ratification document by this date, that country will be a party at the beginning of COP-6. The 8th of September deadline for registration of sponsored delegates, and for non-sponsored delegates, the deadline is a bit more flexible. And the 3rd and 4th September briefing on the COP-6 document. About the regional meetings, the Asia Pacific Day, Asia Pacific in the week of 8th of September. This is almost certain, but the week of 15th of September, the Eastern European states, this is still tentative. On the 22nd September, COP documents to be on the website, and then the week of 22nd of September, GRULAC regional meeting. This is still tentative, and 6th of October, a deadline for registration of observers. Week of 6th of October, Africa regional meeting. This is almost certain. And in the week of 13th of October, we are going to organize offer COP-6 online events. Then COP-6 will be held in Geneva from the 3rd to 7th of November. So thank you very much for your attention. I think this is why. I'm sorry. The next slide is the list of the Minamata Online seasons 5 that was launched very recently, and we look forward to having you in the future sessions. Thank you very much, and I think I will start to review the question. So if you have any question, please put those in the chat. So I'm looking at the questions. The Africa regional meeting in the week of October 6th, it is on, the in-person regional meeting. And we are not sure whether we can provide online connection. So I think this is it. If you have any question, please put those in the chat. And if not, I think, as I said, if there's time, we would provide opportunities for oral questions. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. And I already see Miss Doris Zora. I think I will need help from my colleague to unmute her. So while my colleague is, yeah. So we have opportunity for the observers. So I think I will turn to Lala to respond to the general requirement for observers, and perhaps other colleagues may have input on the involvement of indigenous peoples. But first, I return to Lara.
Thank you. So on engagement of observers during the regional preparatory meeting, both parties and observers, so non-party observers and other observers will also be invited to attend the regional preparatory meeting where documentation for COP-6 will be presented by the Secretariat. So this is our first opportunity before COP-6. Entities who would like to register as an observer are invited to follow the procedure, which is available on our website. I can share with you the link on how to become an observer. There is a small procedure where we require a few documents to allow organizations to become an observer. And of course, it is up to COP then to decide and approve the list that is compiled by the Secretariat. But I'll share with you the link on how to become an observer to our COPs. I hope I responded for other organizations that already have gone through the procedure before our previous COPs. There is a list on our website where you can see which organizations are already admitted as observers. I will share the link as well. So those who have already done the have been cleared by the Secretariat and approved by COP do not need to do it again. And they are already admitted as observers without further requirements. I will maybe stop here. Thank you. In case you have any questions, please.
Thank you, Lara. And if I may add some elements about the procedure and also financial issues. In terms of procedures, we note in order to be an observer, you need to submit the formal request. But we are aware of the challenges in having representing a legal entity for some indigenous peoples. So the COP-5 took decision on the involvement of indigenous peoples. So we are working to enhance the involvement of indigenous peoples and local communities. This is one. And secondly, with regard to the funding issues, the practice is that the Secretariat provide funding of the participation of developing country parties and parties in economies in transition pursuant to the financial rules. But we are also keen to support the observer participation by donor funding. So we would appreciate donors' contribution to make the COP meetings transparent as much as possible. So we would be happy to discuss with donors. And as soon as we have financial resources, we will speak to the civil society, indigenous peoples, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much. So, and so there's a question to Lara about the requirements to be an observer. Lara, can you explore a little bit?
Yes, I have posted on the website, sorry, in the chat, the link to the our page on participation of observers. This is where the procedure is also explained. So I would invite you to refer to this page for where there's a list of documentation that is to be sent to the Secretariat as a first step in the process. The Minamata Convention states in paragraph 6 of Article 23 that the United Nations, its specialized agencies, and the International Atomic Energy Agency, as well as any state not a party to the convention, may be represented at the meeting of the parties as an observer. So in addition to these, other organizations can also be admitted as an observer. This is anybody or agency, whether national or international, governmental or non-governmental, that is qualified in matters covered by the convention and has informed the Secretariat of its wish to be represented at the meeting of the Conference of the Parties as an observer, may be admitted unless at least 1/3 of the parties present object. The admission and participation of observer is subject to the rules of procedure of the convention. So basically the Secretariat puts together a list of observers before every COP. We require a few documents on the statute of the organization, the bylaws, and a statement that would justify the organization's involvement in matters that are related, covered by the convention. So there are a few documents, you will see them listed in the link. And then based on the list, the COP may usually just by not objecting, agrees or grants these organizations on the list the status of observer. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara. So, and I'm look at the chat, and there's a proposal to use WhatsApp. We have a social media effort to reach out to the public through through social media, but we have not been able to use the WhatsApp for this purpose. I think this is one of the issues we considering, especially to reach out to some groups who do not who have the for whom the WhatsApp is the easiest. But this is something. I think this is something for the future for us. And also, there's there's a specific question from Peter Owiti about his observership, and if you're yeah. My colleague Richard Gutierrez is our focal point on the youth and also indigenous people. So I think, Richard, if you can put your email address in the chat, I think you can contact him directly about his specific question. And also the list of observers, I think Lala mentioned that the website, and there's we have COP info documents listing the observers at that COP meeting. So the most recent list is for the observer list for COP5, which is an info document for COP5. I think we have covered all the questions. I'm checking once again. So thank you, Shannon, for your information on the WhatsApp opportunities. Thank you very much. This is very helpful. So I think we have covered all the questions. So I hope that this session was helpful to the parties and also to observers and other stakeholders. And one question, sorry, can we get more explanation on the global supply, production, trade, and use of mercury compounds? And there will be a separate Minamata Online session next month. But Lara, do you want to provide a bit of more information?
Yes, of course. As we mentioned in one of the slides, in response to COP5 decision 5/3, which requested the Secretariat to develop this study, we have prepared a draft study, which is now available on our website. You can download it. You can have a look at the draft. The draft is also is open for comments. There is a form for comments, for providing comments. So I invite you to download the document and submit any comments you may have as a party or a stakeholder by the 5th of March. So I can share with you the link here in the chat where you can.
I did it. I did so, yes.
So you find all the information there. After the deadline, after the 5th of March, we will have an Minamata Online session you see here on the 11th of March, where we will further present the content of the draft and invite further comments during that session. That will be another opportunity to understand the content of the draft and also provide additional comments. And then the Secretariat will compile comments and produce a revised draft for consideration by COP-6. So this is the timeline. I hope this is enough as an overview. And again, the link is in the chat so you can access the full draft on our website.
Thank you, Lara. So I think now we can close this meeting. So thank you very much for your participation, and there are many upcoming deadlines, and please note those deadlines, and also we are expecting the substantive input by certain deadlines, such as the 31st of March or the 5th of March on the comments of mercury compound study and so on. So we look forward to receiving input for the active consideration at the 6th meeting of the Conference of the Parties. Thank you very much and have a good day, rest of the day. Thank you very much. Goodbye.